All right, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all latest in television and entertainment news with too many hosts with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick, and the third one is
Kyle Bridger. I would say that I am the soul of this podcast. To John's sound of metal, because he's the engineer, and Dave can be our Wonder Woman.
1984. And with how technology is going tonight, it is 1984 because our internet's not working. So John has his work cut out for him. He is the sound of metal, and he'll be working with some sounds. We are doing this over our phones, getting that audio, but it's being recorded into our computers. He's then taking this stream from the phone call, putting it up on Twitch, where you're seeing the images but not seeing us. It's very complicated. All you need to know is you're listening to the podcast, and that's hopefully it. Hopefully that's all you need tonight. Hopefully that's all you need tonight.
Yeah.
We do have this first segment, and John, really need your help tonight. What is it, man?
in and out points. Yes, it is. I think it's in and out points. I don't know at this point. All right, we're going to be discussing a lot of movies tonight, and maybe in a future episode we'll discuss this future movie that is going to be based on, wait for it, this would work if it was a video show, but it's not tonight, the Rubik's Cube. Hyde Park Entertainment Group and Endover Content have partnered for a feature film based on the best-selling puzzle toy, the Rubik's Cube. All right, John, you're an 80s kid. Are you excited to get that Rubik's Cube going? I was always terrible at Rubik's Cubes.
Well, maybe this movie will be hopefully a how-to solve the Rubik's Cube. 2-hour tutorial.
What next? Will they come out with the little triangle foldy things where you did like the, where you open it up and then close it and it had the little numbers on it?
The origami,
yeah,
origami for the community opening.
Yeah. What's that? Is that the next IP that's coming out?
When you were talking about the folding paper, I thought it was the triangle where you would make it into the little, the football, and then you would flick it across the table. Yeah, I thought that could be the next.
No. I'm just wondering how this movie's going to turn out with a Rubik's Cube. I mean, is it just like, at this point, anything with an IP, I mean, you've talked about it, but just like, what are they doing? Are they just going to be like a character holding the Rubik's Cube and be like, it was there all along?
Well, it's actually the world inside the Rubik's Cube. And each square is a different town, and they got to live together in harmony. But one square is out of alignment, and so whatever, it has to be solved back into place. It'll be something wild, but this makes no sense at all, obviously. And I thought maybe at first I'm not reading it right. Maybe it's like a biopic on the guy, Mr. Rubik's or whatever his name was, that invented the cube. But I don't know. We got this. We also discussed in episode 249 about the Magic 8 Ball movie. It's a toy cinematic universe here.
What's next? Battleship?
What'd you say, John?
I said, what's next? Battleship?
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Well, you're kidding, right? Yeah, John's kidding. Battleship happened.
Yeah.
We talked Magic 8 Ball. I saw, looking up research for the podcast, a Monopoly movie. Kevin Hart is right now maybe attached. But then, I mean, I think it kind of really got the ball rolling with the Lego movie. When the Lego movie came out, at first you're like, what? And then obviously it went on, made many sequels and video games and theme parks and all that kind of stuff. But at least that you have imagination, creativity, so many different blocks that can be different things. And there's really not many blocks here.
Well, yeah,
it's literally numbered.
With the Legos, it's like the Legos, they had a bunch of different characters. I mean, Legos are just block versions of people, so that makes sense. Rubik's Cube, the only thing that I can imagine that they're doing is something where it's like the old 70s game show where they had like the X's and O's, Hollywood Squares. And and literally like you suggested, one block of the Rubik's Cube is going to open up, and then we're going to go into this world. What is this square? This is Greenland. And then this is the blue land.
And they're all in harmony until one player accidentally moves it one way. And then, I got to get to the other side of the cube to find my long lost relative, the green square. It's just like, okay,
Maybe it is. Maybe this is horrible what I'm going to say. But this is a redemption story for all the nerds that looked online to find the master code to put it together. Where are they now for those that finished the Rubik's Cube?
Yeah. You mean these nerds? How to solve a Rubik's Cube in 45 seconds?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I'm glad it's not a video show tonight. So no one saw me hold up a book I have on my bookcase of how to solve a Rubik's Cube. Okay. It doesn't end here, though. It doesn't end here. Not just a movie for the Cube, but the Cube is also getting a TV show backed by the producer of the game show The Wall. Okay. Lego Masters, Kyle and I, we saw an episode of that. I feel like, offhand, people building Legos. What could possibly this show be other than, is it going to be the Speed Cubers? People solving it quickly? What is the game show or the TV show based on the Rubik's Cube?
They always cook up some harebrained scheme. It's going to be like they have to do a bunch of challenges and then solve the Rubik's Cube while trying to cook for Guy Fieri in 30 minutes. It's going to be something random like that. It's going to be like the Rubik's Cube is off to the side, and then they're going to have challenges, and then Rubik's Cube come in and bloop, finished.
Yeah, I just don't know how long this show could even last, or even how an episode could last, because it's like these speed cubers can solve it in 5 seconds. And it's like, all right, tonight, here we go. On your mark, get set, go. All right, that's it. See you all next week. It's just like,
well, they could do it I think of the crossover, dude. American Ninja Warrior meets Rubik's. It's like a relay race. You got the American Ninja Warriors, and then you end with Rubik's Cube solve. You got to solve that at the end after you go up the ramped wall.
All right.
Dude, hey. I am just coming out with fire ideas tonight.
2021 is your year. Don't use all the good ideas now. We have a full year of podcasts ahead of us. A lot to do. All right. Well, we'll wait and see when this movie comes out. We got a whole line of toys to talk about in future podcast episodes. But tonight, we have 5 movies to talk about. 2 we're really going to focus in on. And this first one, well, we're going to say goodbye to 2020 because now it is 2021. In order to talk about this movie, we do have to go back. So, John, it's all on you this week. Send us back.
Back in time. I'm back.
We're back, baby. I just went for it. I went for it. I didn't know where. I was trying to gauge it in my mind of where we were.
You were not far off.
I was going to say, it would be funny if that was his best attempt ever. He never heard the music this week, and somehow he perfectly lined it up.
Well, I played it in my mind. I was doing the back in time, and then I was trying to time it.
Nice. Well, we're going back. We're going back to December 27th when Death to 2020 premiered on Netflix. This British mockumentary by the creators of Black Mirror features a series of fictional characters played by Samuel L. Jackson, Hugh Grant, Lisa Kudrow, Leslie Jones, and many, many more. And they were all discussing the events of 2020, including the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, we all saw this. So let's start off with John. What did you think of the mockumentary film Death to 2020?
At first, I wasn't into it, but I think as it rolled on, I kind of understood what it was trying to do and got into it. I felt a little too soon, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It wasn't bad. There was a lot of funny parts about it, but there's also a lot of stuff that I probably wouldn't joke about. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I wouldn't condemn it, but it's not what I'm looking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we're still in 2020 in a way. We're still dealing with pretty much everything that they commented on in the movie, literally ongoing right now. I agree with you. I feel like it was nothing groundbreaking, but I feel like it was a nice way to kind of recap the year. There were so many things where I was like, oh my God, that was this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stuff that happened in January through March of 2020 feels like
a different lifetime.
A decade ago.
It feels like a different lifetime.
And this whole kind of, movie, this mini movie was just commentators, for those who don't know, commentators played by actors. So they're not playing themselves, but they're playing characters, commenting like it was like a documentary about 2020 and all the things that happened. Like, and I love the 1990s, the things you saw on VH1 back in the day. And there was, just like that show, there were some lines you just roll your eyes at with this. You're like, oh, really? But then there was others that they admit it, got a chuckle out of me, and that's all you really can ask for something that I'm sure that was, literally thrown together, to close out the year. I have some lines here, but before I go through some of the lines and the commentators, what were your overall thoughts, Kyle, on Death of 2020?
I was like John in the beginning. I wasn't really vibing it. I was asking myself, like, really, do we have to do this right now? Like, it just feels too soon almost. But then I got into it. Some of the jokes started landing a little bit more. I started to get a vibe for what they were going with. And honestly, by about 3/4 of the way in, I was like, we should kind of do this for every year. Just to get, because it gave me a good sense of things that I forgot had happened in the year. It was a good kind of year in review. It was like an overly produced year in review. And like you said, with some of the commentators and stuff like that, some things worked for me, some things didn't. With Samuel L. Jackson, it just felt like him doing his own thing. But then Kristen Milioti hits a home run for me. Playing that character, the soccer mom, that was by far the best thing about it.
There's moments she had, like when they have some like news article about her, pretty much pulling a Karen, and it is out, in the public complaining about something. The look on her face, the pause of it, crazy eyes to the max. It was just, I don't know how her face did that contortion. It was, you bring up Samuel L. Jackson. I wrote down, he's practically playing himself, but he still made me laugh out loud.
Yeah, of course.
Just because it's Samuel L. Jackson. Like, there was like a line, I can't remember the exact line, but he was like, Trump needed a distraction. Something small, like World War III. Because and there's a lot of lines like that, and they kind of fall into the trap occasionally of the cliche lines that have become like a staple of late night talk shows, like, or even like Last Week Tonight. They always do this kind of rhythm of a sentence where it's, dictator and amateur pigman John Smith. It's always like the title and then some kind of like insult, or it's like some kind of like, what he actually is, and then something absurd where it's like they called Joe Biden like, president-elect and Civil War hero. Yeah. And it's like, okay, the second thing is Tom Hanks, actor and part-time CGI cowboy. It's like, okay, they have that kind of rhythm. Some of them are, funny. Other ones are like, okay, you feel it coming because it's just so overused now in these late night talk shows.
Yeah.
But
I totally agree. One other character that didn't work for me was the average woman, the average like English woman.
Oh, the English.
To me, it didn't work. I thought it was a dumb character that they kind of created, because I know it's supposed to be an absurdist thing, but it was just so out of reality that I just couldn't take it. Like I couldn't. It just I don't know. Like the Kristen Milioti character, that is like rooted in reality. Like I've seen,
It's too real almost.
And she does it so well. She plays it perfectly. This other character is like some amalgamation of some kind of weird, I don't know, thing that they created. I don't have no idea.
Yeah, it's hard because this thing had to juggle two sides of news. It had to do the American side and there was a lot of stuff from overseas and in England, you know, and all their crazy stuff they got going on there. So they're kind of doing both things here, and sometimes it kind of got lost in translation. I feel like some of the things. I will say one line that I did like from her was when she was trying to figure out the electoral college system of our election, where it's just like she was like watching it. And it was like I was just like, well, this state, Florida, is this many points, but then Tennessee has more letters, yet it's worth less points. And it's just like, yeah, that kind of sums up how weird the Electoral College is. It makes zero sense. But another one that stood out to me was Lisa Kudrow, because like Kristen Milioti, I feel like it almost was too real. Again, Kudrow is this conservative spokesperson, and there's like just dialogue that I feel like could have been ripped from Politics 2020. She's like talking about a transcript from Ukraine. You'll see in that. And somebody's like, what transcript? And he's like, well, you just said the transcript from Ukraine. And there's no transcript. It's like, well, you just said, what are you talking? Ukraine? That's not a country. And she's just, you know, it's just like, again, just lying up the yin yang of just anything she could pull out. It was just, no. But, some of the things I did roll my eyes at, though, is the obligatory Netflix product placement that we got in the middle of this.
Yeah.
Where they were like, many people turn to Netflix to quarantine their... It's just, and they ran through some of the programs. It's like, really? We're watching Netflix.
Yep. But product placement. Yeah.
And then at the end, we got some pre-recorded lines for 2021. There was some funny ones here, of course, like they're going to mention like because they're getting ready for next year's documentary, so they don't have to film new ones. So they were kind of saying stuff like, oh, when President Harris, you know, did this, or when the vaccine gave us extra powers, and you know, they're just playing on all that stuff. And then there was like one where it was just like, that was the last politician I thought that would be on Italian TV shoving this up its it's just like, we all know who they were talking about, but like. So yeah, I think overall, it's not too long. It's like an hour and change. Would you guys recommend it as a way to recap the year and just kind of close it out, John?
I don't know. I think maybe in a couple of years when things are a little bit, hopefully, back to normal, it might be funny to look back and be like, oh yeah, I remember that, you know, and get the humor out of it. Right now, I feel like it's just kind of like, yeah, it's still kind of happening, all of it. It's still a little too real. It wasn't bad. It wasn't anything that I would say avoid, but I'm not telling anybody to seek it out.
Kyle?
Yeah, I would recommend it. I mean, it's not longer than some episodes of television that you might watch. So that in and of itself is fine. But I would say with the preface or the caveat that it does take a minute to get into that feel. And if you're not ready to revisit some of the things that might have depressed you along the way, then maybe hold off for a little while.
Yeah, well, hopefully 2020 will be over soon. We'll see. Our next thing, we're going to have to travel, well, a few more years back from 2020 to 1984. Because if we're talking about Wonder Woman 1984, it dropped on December 25th, Christmas Day, on HBO Max and in theaters. And this sequel to the 2017 film is starring the DC superhero Wonder Woman, played by Gal Gadot. She faces off in 1984 against Max Lord and Cheetah, played by Pedro Pascal and Kristen Wiig, respectively. All right, I got a lot to say, but I want to start off with Kyle. What do you think of Wonder Woman 1984?
Honestly, it just, I mean, we kind of chatted about it in the chat group we have for Dual Redundancy, but it kind of just felt like a superhero movie. But I mean, yeah, it just wasn't. I didn't like it. Let's just preface that. I did not like it. All I can see is Kristen Wiig, who I was trying to remember earlier, Dave. All I can see is Kristen Wiig when Kristen Wiig is acting. All I can see is Kristen Wiig. I'm sorry. I know she's probably great, but that's all I see is her doing some kind of kooky character, which is made worse by the revelation of her at the end when she, spoiler alert, becomes whatever transition that is to Cheetah Girl or Catwoman or whatever that was at the end. So, yeah, there's a lot of problems with this movie in terms of what's motivating characters. Some of the writing, the dialogue, it's just not good. I mean, even when you have good actors like Pedro Pascal, I mean, he barely pulled that character off. That was wild.
Yeah.
And I'll let you talk about how you felt, but towards I want to talk about the ending and why, like, we should even care, and do we think that would really happen?
Well, yeah. I got too much to say, John. I need to hear your thoughts first.
Oh man, the practical effects were really pulling down for me, man. I didn't like, or not practical, but the actual effects they were using. Like, I don't know if they were trying to emulate a certain style for the lasso, or what. But I seriously feel like I probably could have done a better job myself in After Effects. You know what I mean? It looked like someone like threw it in. I don't know. They must have been trying to emulate some movie. I didn't like it at all. I thought some of the other ones. I'll get into some slight spoilers here. There was a point where there was a rocket launched, and she takes her whip and grabs the rocket, and instead of doing what you would think where the rocket would pivot on the point, she just like flies with the rocket.
Yeah.
Like, I thought she was gonna take the rocket down and hit the kids with it. I didn't know what was going on, and then she flew away. Like
I had that mark too, because that whole lasso thing, like, yeah, she goes on to like this bazooka and she's flying along with it, and it's all of a sudden the lasso makes her Spider-Man. Like, it's just the webs. It's like, where's this web hitting? There's no buildings out here. Where's the lasso going? Oh, now we're gonna attach it to this bazooka thing and just ride that through it, and then whipping around and flying. That's just one of the many issues I have with this. I'm gonna start up front. First of all, we're spoiling it. Spoilers. It's happening. I'm not a superhero fan. They're okay. I like the original Wonder Woman. I thought it was fun. Mm-hmm. This movie just didn't work. It just was confounding. It was full of the superhero cliches. Like, Kyle, you bring up Kristen Wiig. Within 30 seconds, you see this geeky type character with glasses. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's the villain. Mm-hmm. And it was acting like it was this big reveal at the end, that she was this big villain. And she is pulling me out, as you said. I felt like I was watching an SNL sketch. Mm. You know, I was watching this, the Target lady. I'm just seeing different characters. Yeah. I can't unsee Kristen Wiig, especially when she's acting like a goofy geek. I just can't do it. I found it too distracting. And then the cheetah thing, the cat CGI. Did we learn nothing from Cats 2019? Mm. You never go full CGI cat. You never go full CGI cat. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't. The effects didn't work. They made no sense with the plot. Like, she wants to be like Diana. You know, she wants to be the strong person. She gets her first wish. Okay, I get it. She's getting strong. She's getting attractive. Okay, and that makes sense. But then she says again, I want to be like like she pretty much says a dominant predator, which is just weird to say.
Apex predator, yeah.
But okay, and then all of a sudden she's going to turn into a cat, like a cheetah. Why? Like, the dots are not connecting there. Of like, maybe it would have been nice if we saw her earlier in the movie, like cats. You know, maybe, had a cat at home, or
just something with cats.
Something
but no,
to
she's-
make the link match up. Because
Yeah.
I mean, even when you think about it, like cheetahs aren't apex. Like they have to hunt in packs. I mean, you want to
Yeah.
do like a lion or something. Like you think of like the king of the jungle or something.
And then you have this big CGI battle at the end, which also confused me because there was all these articles coming out that Patty Jenkins, the director, was forced in the first Wonder Woman by Warner Brothers to do the big CGI climax battle at the end. And then this time, how does this movie end? A big CGI battle. And that's it. Okay, the first time you don't have the clout, you don't have the right to say, no, Warner Brothers, I'm doing it my way, because they're putting a lot of money in this. When the first movie is such a success and you sign on for the second movie and now she's signed on for a third movie, she has a veto power here. She could be like, no, I'm not doing this. So it's just weird to me that she was like, now it's like, oh, I didn't want to do this. Well, why are you doing a third movie then? If they're so hard to work with, why are you doing a third movie with this studio? And I still don't understand why Kristen Wiig was even mad at Gal Gadot's character to fight her off. She was the only one nice to her in the entire movie.
But because the only link they have is Pedro Pascal's character. But even that was flimsy at best. That wasn't a strong connection. It was more just an infatuation. But she's so infatuated that she would directly go against somebody that liked her or was nice to her along the way. Yeah, it was a little just flimsy storyline.
Yeah. And let's talk about Pedro Pascal and his character and the whole Dreamstone MacGuffin here, because I have a lot of questions with this as well, and maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed some of these details, and I'm sure people in the comments or in the iTunes reviews are going to be like, blah, 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 blah. But I feel like if I see this movie once and I spend 2.5 hours watching it and I'm still kind of confused with the mechanics, the movie failed. That's just my... If I have to look up articles of how it works and know the backstory of comics, that doesn't work for me. And here, Pedro Pascal pretty much becomes the Dreamstone. So if anyone touches him, they can get a wish granted. And it's kind of like the monkey's paw, where if it takes something from you to grant this wish, so it doesn't come, completely scot-free. Okay, fine. Those are basic rules. I understand that. But I don't understand why like Kristen Wiig gets 2 wishes.
Yeah.
Because everyone else can only get 1 wish.
Yeah.
There's the whole thing about like a trance. To me, like every time like he granted a wish for somebody, it was almost like they were also in a trance. They had the thing with the president of the United States, also the guys, I think in Egypt, I believe, the oil guys, like he said one thing and then the entire, building of staff members were under his command. It just was like, okay, like every time you grant a wish, you're also mind controlling them. And then you have the TV, ending here where he's on TV in a TV station in the middle of effing nowhere, wherever they built that on a island pier, and he's not actually touching anyone. I know it's like they kind of worked it. It's like, well, TV touches everyone. It's like, well, no, it doesn't. Like, just because you're on TV doesn't mean you have the same connection of physically touching someone. But they grant the wishes of everyone in the world, and I think you had some issues with that. I specifically had about the technical issues of, well, we knocked the cameras out. The cameras are gone.
Yeah.
He's not on TV anymore. And yet somehow he's still being shown, even though he's in some weird like light beam. Again, why is there a TV studio with this weird light beam from like the Mandalorian in the middle of the TV station?
Well, yeah, and then Gal Gadot's character and him are having this whole conversation technically off camera. There's no camera on them. So how...
There's no mics. There's no cameras.
How is this happening? How are so many people seeing this? So then my problem, and Dave kind of explained this, maybe I was too, frazzled by just the situation. Because I was like, how does him giving up his wish just change everything for everyone? Is it because he is the stone? That's got to be the only reason.
He was the last person to say that he gave it up. Everyone else was already convinced by Wonder Woman to give up their wish.
Now I call that. See, now that is bull poopy, because there are too many crazy bad people in this world that they would never ever get anybody to agree 100% to change their wish. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, so I think what the way to solve it is when Pedro Pascal, his character, says, "I renounce my wish of him becoming the Dreamstone," that negates all the wishes that he granted.
Okay, so like a time travel, not a time travel
so
without the time kind of thing.
So like he renounces all his wishes, so everyone in the world, those are all wishes are gone. And then the ones from earlier, when Gal Gadot touched the stone and wished for Chris Pine, and when Chris, like, they have to like take back those wishes. So it's kind of like by Pedro Pascal saying, "I renounce my one wish," that cancels out everyone else's wish because it was tied to his wish.
That is some. I mean, yeah. Did they say that? It didn't seem that way. It did not seem that way to me. I took it the way John did, was that everyone just agreed willy-nilly to go along with this plan. Right.
I think I just cracked it, right? So the two ways they could do it were everybody could renounce their wish, or the stone could be destroyed. But if he renounces his wish, that's destroying him as the stone.
The stone, yeah. So I get
maybe that's the route that they were going.
So I get that. I get all that. It's just.
But man, God. when he yelled, "I renounce my wish," all I could think of was Michael Scott in The Office. I declare bankruptcy. And I'm thinking to myself, just because you renounce it doesn't mean,
yeah.
But, and there's points when like Chris Pine is handcuffed to him at the White House, and he doesn't think to say, "I want the stone." And like, he's already touching the guy. Like, it just, he could take it from.
Here's also the other problem with the Pedro Pascal character, is he suddenly has a change of heart now that he's become all powerful. I mean, it's taken over his body. We can see it physically in him, but his kid, he didn't give a crap about the kid the entire time. And now he suddenly changes once he's got all the power possible. That doesn't make any sense. It's so that a lot of the storyline here is a lot of suspension of disbelief, flimsy story writing. It's not good. It's not good at all.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the other wish here of Diana's wish to get her boyfriend hasn't seen in 60 years. She's really harping on this guy she had one night with 60 years ago. She hasn't moved on. But wishes for him to come back. And why does he need to be in another person's body? This is a dreamstone. Anything is possible. You're making up the rules here. He could come back as himself. Why put him in somebody else? Because this poor guy was just living his life. Who knows? Maybe he has a girlfriend, a wife. He has maybe a kid, a family. He's gone now. He's like, or I guess he's still real. But to Diana, she sees Chris Pine, but other people are seeing the other one. That's the other thing that was really confusing for me, because it took a while for the film to even explain this, because they're at a party. This random guy starts coming up to her and hitting on her. And she's like, get lost, dude. And then like the camera like spun around like 6 times. And then, wait, it's Chris Pine now. Like, was he still transforming? Was it just like, what's happening? And it just brings up some, I mean, we don't have to dwell on it, but some iffy questions. It's like, well, does that mean this guy is not really in control, and that, Wonder Woman's forcing him into a relationship? I mean,
yeah, it's dangerous. But also think about those conversations, because at the end, okay, spoiler alert, she takes interest in the guy that Chris Pine was in, right?
Yeah.
But can you imagine the bedroom talk with that? Yeah, I used to bang you while thinking you're somebody else.
Well, you were completely unconscious. You weren't there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions with that. And then, again, there's going to be some smarter people out there. I remember in the original Wonder Woman, I actually had to watch a recap, and this helped me remember it. But before I watched the new one, that the first movie ends with Wonder Woman getting an email from Bruce Wayne, Batman, and she is thanking him for a picture that he attached of her and Chris Pine from back in the day in World War One. And okay, that's the end of Wonder Woman 2017, whenever that was. Got the email, said thank you. I'm pretty sure in this movie we see that photo. So unless she somehow lost that photo, that scene is now out of place because in the 80s there was an email. So that scene must have taken place after Wonder Woman 1984, even though the picture is in this movie.
Someone screwed up there. If that's real, if that's true.
So,
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised with the way the story was going on this situation, you know?
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. Just overall, I felt everyone in this movie felt like a cartoon character. And you had the thing we talked about with the lasso not making any sense, her being Spider-Man. And then there's the thing when she's flying an invisible plane through fireworks. Mm-hmm. And just because the plane is invisible doesn't mean it's bulletproof. Because those fireworks, if it hits the plane, not going to be good. Mm. So explain that one to me, science. I don't know.
There was a lot of things in this. John, going back to your, just in terms of practical effects or whatever, but I saw a tweet and it was like a close-up of her when she's kind of running in the desert. And it's clearly like green screen. She's probably on like a pedestal. It's probably just in a studio, her on a pedestal with green screen. And somebody tweeted was like, definitely at a location because it just looks so fake.
There was one scene at the end that really stood out to me when the father and his kid are both in front of the White House, was it? I don't know what it was, but the lighting was like completely wrong in my mind, and it was like it was screaming green screen, which they must have had to redo that scene and couldn't get that lot again, or couldn't do something because it was just really bad. That was the one that stood out to me the most. I mean, at least the rest of the stuff is kind of in context, and they try and hide it. That one just looked like it was it was straight from like the 90s, or the 80s green screen. It wasn't great. I didn't. Ooh.
So you gotta imagine, I think about this all the time when it comes to these movies, right? They're pumping millions and millions of dollars. You're telling me that's the best shot. That's the best shot we have. Or that's the only shot we can do, or that's the only, like, that is wild. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or that's the most they
got
can
the
care.
time, they got the money. It's just but I just wanted more. The marketing was so good. I thought the 80s marketing I thought was well done, and I was like, let's have some fun. And then I was thinking back to it. Where was the 80s soundtrack?
Yeah.
Where was the music? Where was the sound drops?
Yeah.
Nothing.
No. It was kind of...
Why are we in the 80s
Yeah, it was
then?
kind of bad. It was really bad. There was no real connection there whatsoever.
Yeah. But I'm just going to run through some of the box office here real quick because this was an experiment for Warner Brothers. It was released on Christmas Day on HBO Max and in theaters. And opening weekend in theaters, the film was just shy of about 17 million, which actually outgrosses Tenet, which debuted to about 9.3 million at a time when more theaters were actually open and the film was not releasing on HBO Max the same day. But it did drop about 70% in the second week. It's made about 5.5 million
But HBO says if it broke records and, quote, exceeded our expectations across all of our key viewing and subscriber metrics in the first 24 hours. Okay, they didn't provide any details of what that actually means.
Well, we knew that all along. No matter what the numbers were going to be for this, they were always going to say, "Oh, this is broke records." Well, for what? Well, for
in all of our key viewing and subscriber metrics, of course.
Yeah, in the Netherlands on Tuesday at 2, we were, it's all that stuff. Yeah. So they were going to finagle this anyway with the backlash that they've been getting. We knew that they were going to post or say something that makes it look good, because that's the only way they're going to assure people that they are doing right by the movie and by the marketing and all that other nonsense. But I will say that I'm happy that I didn't go to the theater and pay to see this.
Yeah, I'm with you. Especially right now, to risk your life to see this in a theater when it was available on HBO Max, and it will be on HBO Max at least for a month. So December 25th through January 25th, then they're going to take it off. It'll be theaters only, and then in a few months later this year, it'll probably be on HBO Max permanently. So that's what's going to be for 2021 with HBO and Warner Brothers and stuff like that. So it's the new normal, but. All right, we still have a couple things to talk about. We actually had some people on Instagram chime in with their reviews when I asked. Make sure you're following us on Instagram at Dual Redundancy. Siobhan F314 on Instagram reviewed the film and our next film. Here's the review. Soul good, Wonder Woman bad. And that should lead us into our next film here. And because we're running short on time, these will be kind of maybe a quick check, if you will. Quick check. All right. I hope it played. I hope that sweet jingle played. We're talking about Soul now. It also came out December 25th. This one was on Disney Plus. This Pixar animated film stars Jamie Foxx as a middle school music teacher who seeks to reunite his soul and his body after dying just before his big break. Heavy stuff. Kyle, what did you think of Soul?
Feel good movie for sure. Solid from Pixar. Overall, I didn't think it was like the best Pixar movie ever, but for the end of the year film, feel good, part of the holiday season. Good messaging in the film. Good to see some different voice actors. It's good to see like Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is good. So yeah, I liked it. Overall, I thought it was above average, not anything spectacular from Pixar, but definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, maybe it's probably not as strong as like the similar Inside Out. But it's still very moving, very emotional. I gotta wonder if it is too adult. I'm really curious what kids thought of this, because I mean, sure, there's the wacky body swap, later on in the film, but man, we're discussing the origins of human personalities and the concepts of determinism, and I mean, the main character dies pretty early into the film, and we're talking about the soul before going into the great beyond. It's like, this is kind of heavy stuff. But man, it looks beautiful. This is one I wish I saw in the theater. There was points I even thought it looked like live action. I thought they snuck in some live action in there at points. And then you got music. The music in this film, you got jazz from John Baptiste and a soundtrack. Never thought I would say it. A Pixar soundtrack by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Wow.
But it works. It works, that whole social network type vibe with all the stuff in the afterlife and the great beyond. And the film made me really miss life pre-quarantine. Them walking around New York City and getting pizza, and just man, I missed that. I missed that carefree lifestyle, man.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But real quick though, I want to talk about the ending. So we're gonna spoil it. We're spoiling the ending of Soul here. Joe, the character that does die, it ends up fine, and it's like no way that they were gonna kill the protagonist in a Disney film. But supposedly in an interview with the director, there were some people debating it on the production side here. He said, quote, "There were definitely camps because I think people felt like it was cheating to let him go back. On the other hand, story-wise, you can't teach this guy to enjoy life the right way and then rob him of that."
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a tough thing because you can't like not let him live, but also it's like, children, don't worry, when you die, there's a chance you could come back. It's like,
Well, I think you could look at it as like a second chance kind of thing rather than death. I mean, I think we can all, even kids, know that if they've done something bad and then they can be rewarded if they do something good, it's kind of like second chances. I think that's more understandable for them.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I would recommend Soul. I mean, it was great to watch after Wonder Woman to get a palate cleanser, and I'm like, oh, this is what I liked. I like this movie. Kyle, would you recommend it?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a solid Pixar movie and definitely worth a watch during this COVID sad, depressing times.
Yeah. Our next film, I think I would recommend, and I think Kyle would as well, and we want to sell it to John here. Sound of Metal.
Yeah.
It came out December 4th on Amazon Prime Video. This drama stars Riz Ahmed as a drummer who begins to lose his hearing. Man, it's a small film, but it really does pack a punch. And it's really led by Riz Ahmed's performance in this film. Kyle, what do you think of Sound of Metal?
I thought it was good. I think it's by far my favorite out of all the ones that we're going to talk about. Riz Ahmed is great. I think the storyline is great. Getting a glimpse into the deaf community, understanding what they go through a little bit more, even working at a deaf school. So it gave me a little bit more insight, and I think it's good for everyone to watch just for that and to understand the hardships that some of those people face. But storytelling wise, fish out of water, but kind of delving into this community, get a sense of belonging, which is more of kind of a COVID cure as well during this time. So I thought it was really well done. And I would say at the beginning of the movie, you think it's going to head in one direction, and it totally goes in a separate... Because I kind of thought it would deal more with his drug abuse, and I thought that would be a bigger plot point, but it really is touches on the deaf community. And by far, the best thing about this whole thing is the sound design and the sound.
Yeah.
It really puts you in the footsteps there.
Yeah, and that's the thing I would definitely recommend to John. The film, I think, should be up for some sound awards, definitely. We're put right into the head of Riz Ahmed and what he is going through, whether it's at first with him not being able to communicate. There's no subtitles for a lot of it in the beginning with the sign language. At first, we kept checking, is it our TV? Is our subtitles not on? No, I think it's supposed to be there. So we're kind of in his head. He doesn't know what they're saying, so why should we? And then later on, when he's starting to lose his hearing, we're hearing that. And then later, when he tries a procedure, we get to see how the new hearing, maybe how distorted it may be, we hear all that. And one of the most powerful moments, again, I'm going to spoil the film, the ending here, but man, it packed a punch, was the end. The very end of the film when he takes those off and you just hear nothing. And it's just still. And it's so powerful at the end there where you don't hear anything, and he... looks like he accepts everything there, and boom, what a way to end the movie.
Yeah, I will say, of all the movies that we're going to talk about, I think this one makes me think about it more so after the fact.
Yeah.
And when a movie does that, I think it's really well done, and I think it's a really solid choice if you are looking for something to watch.
All right, we got one more quick check to talk about. I saw Mank. It also came out December 4th, but this one was on Netflix. This biographical film from David Fincher tells the story of screenwriter Herman J. Mankiewicz and his development of the screenplay for Citizen Kane. I love David Fincher, Social Network, Fight Club, Seven, the list goes on and on, Gone Girl. I couldn't connect here. I couldn't connect to the film. I mean, it's a different David Fincher film, and I think a lot comes down to Mank, the actual character of Mank. Gary Oldman plays Mank, and he's the 63-year-old guy playing a 43-year-old, and just his personality just wasn't for me. And when he's the main character, we're spending all of our time with him. A lot of the time we're spending with him when he's in bed complaining and writing. It's just, I don't care about that. And that's our guy we're following. Meanwhile, all the stuff of old Hollywood, the flashbacks and the ensemble surrounding Mank, especially Amanda Seyfried, her supporting performance, I want that. I would spend time with those characters and those moments, not the other stuff. And maybe it just didn't really connect to me. I watched Citizen Kane right before it, and it has some of the Citizen Kane. It feels like it would be a part of that era. It's playing around with flashbacks and in time, just like Citizen Kane does. The film is in gorgeous black and white, technical achievement across the board, but I just couldn't connect with it emotionally. I just couldn't get in there, and I'm sad because I love David Fincher. He doesn't do many films right now. He spends all his time doing either House of Cards or Mindhunter, but I want some more Fincher films, man. Come on. But yeah, so I don't know. I think we'll see it for a bunch of awards, at least nomination wise. I don't know if it's gonna really connect because I feel like the reviews afterwards have been hit or miss. I feel like people who love it really love it, and the rest are kind of like, it was okay. But
yeah.
But yeah, so let's see here. We have one more Instagram comment, and it's from Rojo36, our friend Nick Rojas. Of course, he saw all these films, so he has a review here for all of them real quick. Wonder Woman 84 was too long. Sound of Metal, very good. Mank, I enjoyed. And Soul was incredible and the best of the bunch. So beautiful. So let's see, Nick Rojas of The Good, the Bad, and the Watchable.
We didn't.
That's all we got.
Sorry, I just want to say we didn't even touch on the length of the film that is Wonder Woman. I mean that prevented me from watching it for about 5 days. Because I'm like, I gotta strap in for 3 hours. This is insane.
Yeah, too long. Cut some of this stuff out. Do we need Max Lord? Do we need Cheetah? Do we need this? Do we need that? Just trim the fat here. Come on. All right. Well, that's it. That's it for this week. That's it for our movie reviews. Hopefully we'll go back to television. I want some television shows. And next week we have NBC and their new comedy series, Mr. Mayor. And we might be doing, actually we are doing, a catch-up series for HBO's Industry. It dropped this November, and we're going to spend 3 weeks talking about the entire first season of Industry. Next week will be episodes 1 and 2. The following week will be 3 through 5. And then finally we'll close out at the end of January with 6 through 8. So definitely make sure you're watching Industry with us week to week. We did it with The Boys this summer and had a lot of fun with that. And then the rest of January, we're still going to be busy with other things. We got WandaVision, another Euphoria special. And then right at the end of the month, if everything goes according to plan, Golden Globe nominations will be out as well. So a lot to do, a lot coming up on the podcast. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram at Dual Redundancy. And you can find episodes of the podcast on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, the blog, and Twitch. Twitch.tv/Dual Redundancy. We are live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Twitch. Hopefully, next week, Spectrum has figured out their issues and we are streaming with the video live. But man, I really got to thank John tonight for doing what we can here. I mean, we are literally communicating over the phone while recording the audio through our computers. John is taking our phone audio and broadcasting it over the images on Twitch. A lot of stuff going on. to solve Spectrum's issues. Really appreciate all the work, John, for Kyle for going along with it, and for both of you guys for watching all these different movies. I really appreciate it, guys. Got a lot more coming up, though, for 2021, so buckle up.
Yeah, dude.
All right. Well, until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Berwick.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Dual Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.